An old stairwell in my building adds a step every night. When it reaches your floor, you move out, if you can. My building was built in the 20s, when bricks were cheap and elevators were decorative suggestions. 6 floors, 1 stairwell, 24 steps per flight. The kind of numbers that sit in your bones when you live alone and carry groceries on your hip. I never thought about the count until the night the 25th step arrived. I was coming up from the mailboxes with a pizza under my chin when the rhythm broke. Heel, toe, heel, toe. Then my foot found air where a landing should be, and I lurched forward onto a step that wasn't there yesterday. I stood there, pizza tilting like an apology, and counted. 25. I blame fatigue. I blame bad carpentry. But, in the morning, an old woman on 3 told me, without preface, when it starts adding, don't look down between the runs. She pressed the elevator button with the tip of her cane and didn't get on when the doors opened. That night, I counted 26. The new step had slid in like a secret between the old ones. Not fresh wood, but old. The same scuffs, the same gum scar under the rail where someone's boredom had become history. I leaned over the rail to check the gap between flights, where dust collects and spiders hold quiet conferences. The air below the new tread looked thicker, like heat above a road. Something shifted far down in the shaft, a sound like paper dragged across teeth. On the 4th night, with 29 steps under my soles, the space between runs wasn't space anymore. It had a grain, as if the stairwell were filling with something that remembered being a wall. My neighbor on 5A, nurse, who worked nights and smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender, left a note under my door. Don't use the stairs after midnight. If you see the landing move, pretend you didn't. R. I tried the elevator. It coughed, trembled, and opened on the same hallway I'd left. The doors wouldn't close until I stepped out. When I pressed the call button again, the light breathed in and out like a sleeping animal. On the 7th night, I woke to someone climbing, not a neighbor's impatient sprint. A deliberate ascent, each footfall placed exactly in the center of each tread, as if measuring. I opened my door a sliver. The stairwell lights had dimmed to the color of old bone. The shadows on the wall didn't line up with the banister. A floor below, the sound paused. Something exhaled through teeth it hadn't always had. My phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. How many steps tonight? I typed 33 before I could tell myself not to. The typing dots appeared immediately. When it's 40, don't answer the door. At 35, the old woman on 3 wasn't at her peephole anymore. Her door was open an inch. Inside, her hallway runner had been lifted up and smoothed like she'd prepared for guests. On her kitchen table, next to a cup and a saucer and a carefully folded grocery receipt, lay a small tape measure extended to an exact length. 25 inches. The end was wet. That night, the stairwell smelled like wet wood and river mud. The new steps weren't new anymore. They were older than the building edges softened like driftwood, grain swollen. When I put my ear to the tread, I heard a low rush, as if the riser were hollow and something was breathing carefully on the other side. At 39, the nurse from 5 met me on the landing with a paper grocery bag. "Pack," she said. "Tonight." Her hands shook, antiseptic and lavender rising off her skin like steam. When the count hits your door, it knocks. If you open, it learns your weight. "What is it?" I asked, whispering without meaning to. "New owner," she said, almost kindly, as if delivering a diagnosis she could treat if I caught it early. "Like a building taking back its pieces. It wants the middle part of you, the way you walk, your name, but heavier." At 40, something tapped my door at exactly knee height. 4 taps. patient. The peephole didn't show a visitor. It showed wood grain where air should be, pressed close and pulsing faintly like a tongue laid against glass. My phone lit. Don't answer. No number, no app banner, just letters, pale and certain. On 41, the banister bowed toward me as I passed. A curve you'd miss if you didn't spend your life running the same hand down the same rail. The grain under my palm felt like skin after a long bath. The new steps were no longer content to be stairs. They were becoming something like a throat. I moved the next morning. I packed without sorting. I left the measuring tape at the old woman's door, extended to 24. I took the elevator even though the light in its button had become a pupil. In the lobby, the super was painting fire exit arrows with the concentration of a saint. "People keep complaining about the stairs," he said without looking up. I told them, "Buildings settle." As the movers carried my bed out, one lost his footing and stumbled, shins slamming a tread that shouldn't have been there. He swore, rubbed his leg, and said, puzzled, "Weird. Feels like somebody knocked back." He left a handprint in the dust on the railing, and a second later the dust smoothed itself. When we backed the truck into the street, I looked up like an idiot who wants one final look at a bad decision. On the 5th floor landing, a new step slid into place, quiet as breath. It paused, as if deciding, and then kept climbing. The nurse texted me later from an unknown number. "Good. Don't come back for a week. Don't count steps in your head." I didn't reply. At midnight, in the new apartment, I found myself standing in the dark with my palm against the wall beside my bedroom door, feeling for a seam I couldn't see. The wall was smooth. For now. Like and follow for more files.